Blog Talk Radio.
There is a mystery lurking the forested areas of the world. Many have seen something, but what is it? Are they seeing known animals? They claim they walk upright, like a human. There are so many eyewitnesses. Can they all be wrong? Is someone just playing a trick on people? Or is it possible a large bipedal being could exist in the forests of the world? You have a decision to make. Do you believe it exists? These are the topics we discuss on Sasquatch Watch Radio. Welcome everyone to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is August 20th, 2013, and we're glad to be back. Before we go on with our topic of the show tonight, I'd like to get the great co-host in here, the Creature Seeker.
Hey, Billy.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. Just enjoying sort of the last leg of summer before September rolls around.
Well, one thing's for sure, last week we had fall here, but this week we quickly went back to summer.
You know, I like fall a lot. If it weren't for the fact that winter follows so closely on its heels, I would like fall even more.
Yeah, it's, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't like the heat and the humidity. That I can do completely away with. But just give me 70-degree weather year-round, I'd be a happy camper.
Yeah, amen to that.
But that ain't going to happen. At least not around here.
Well, I'm sure it gets pretty steamy down where you live.
It does get steamy, but I was talking to a fellow in Arizona a couple days ago, and he was telling me about his 113-degree weather, and I told him, I said, well, you can keep it. So, you know, he's like, well, at least our shade works here. I said, yeah, it don't work well. I've been there. And God help you if the wind gets up and you get sand in your eyes. So.
And plus they have the scorpions down there, Billy. It's dreadful.
Oh, yeah. Well, that, and they all, you know, kept telling me all the scary stories about the cactuses that shoot needles at you. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, Dorn, that kind of reminds me of the Creature Seeker getting run over by a tumbleweed.
I wasn't run over by the tumbleweed. The thing attacked me, Billy. Well, it's on my motorcycle. It scared the bejesus out of me, I'll tell you.
Oh, man.
But you know what? Before we forget, do you want to tell the audience the interesting news about the little change we made to the show?
Yeah. What we did was, you know, a lot of times with our guests, we were running over out of the live broadcast. So, because we had the show set for 1 hour. So to fix that issue, what we have done is we have extended the show. And I don't see Allison, so Allison, don't get all excited if you're listening. I'll never hear, she'll be like, I told you to extend it. But we've extended the show to 90 minutes. That way we don't lose live feed when we run over the hour a little bit. Now, that don't mean we're going to do a 90-minute show. It just means that way folks that want to listen live and don't have time to listen to the archive can listen to the whole show. So that's what we're going to do for now on is we'll have it set up for 90 minutes, but we're still going to try to stick as close to an hour as possible, because if y'all are like me and you're starting to get old, you're ready to go to bed at 10 o'clock. So so anyway, that'll help out for those that don't have time to listen to the archive, unless you're Eric Altman and you make it a habit to listen every morning to the archive shows when you're going down the road. So.
Yeah, I don't know if he listens to every show, Billy, but it just seems that whenever I talk about him, that's the show he listens to. So I'll have to keep that in mind for future shows.
Oh, believe me, he'll send you an email. You talk about him, he's going to send you an email to let you know he's listening. So
I know. Every time, you know what, Billy? Every time I mention his name, he sends me an email. Oh, I heard that. Is someone tipping him off or something?
No, he listens. I like that he listens. I appreciate it, Eric.
You do?
Yeah, at least somebody wants to listen to us.
That's true. We have a pretty controversial topic tonight, Billy.
It can be pretty controversial depending on, especially how long you've been in this field, and I'm sure that many people that have been in this field long enough have run into this issue.
Yeah.
So
do you want to talk about the topic a little bit?
Yeah, basically the topic that we're going to discuss tonight, obviously the title of our topic is Bigfoot Evidence, to Share or Not. So, we've got anyone who spends any time on the internet or on Facebook, we all know that there's tons of alleged photos, tons of alleged footprints, alleged stick structures, teepee structures, videos. YouTube is full of all types of videos with all sorts of alleged evidence. So, some of them are impressive. Some of them are not so impressive. Many do share their evidence to get opinions from others, and they get good feedback. Many share their evidence only to get ridiculed and belittled by other people. So the question is, why share it? Should you share it, or should you just keep the evidence to yourself? So this is, I think we'll have some interesting comments tonight. And Bruce, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking we should definitely open the phone lines up for this too.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to get some feedback from the listeners on this subject and exactly what they think. Now, when we talk about evidence, we got to keep in mind that talking about evidence, we're talking about something that, is evidence that you can see. There's no doubt that there's something either in the photo, the audio, the video, if you got to draw a red circle around it, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm being difficult about this, but if you got to draw a red circle around it, I don't know that I consider that evidence. I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's an interesting dilemma because, they say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I think that goes the same for evidence, or what people think is evidence. So they may very well have seen a Bigfoot. They may very well have had an encounter, but it may be that what they provide as quote unquote evidence is not conclusive. So that blurry photograph, the blob squatch, that doesn't mean that they didn't have the experience or they didn't experience the activity. It just means that there's not a lot of conclusive evidence to back up their claim. So someone once made the, suggestion that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence or something to that effect. And, I think that may be true. Now, on one hand, Billy, you want to see as much evidence as possible because there might be something in the photograph or the video or the cast that maybe, that you overlooked originally or, that someone else could pick up, but because you're too close to it, you wouldn't be able to pick out, So on one hand, you kind of want all the evidence to sort of surface so that it can be scrutinized. But on the other hand, there's a lot of it that's just so inconclusive and not anywhere near sort of the level of, what shall we say, the level of, credibility that you would need in order to pass like muster in the scientific community.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. Now, Flycatch is asking us to define evidence from speculation.
Well, Billy, that's kind of what the show is about.
Right.
What someone purports to be evidence is really, it could be someone else. It could be speculation, or that's what people disagree on. Is it evidence? Is it speculation?
Right. Right.
That's a good question.
Well, and here's kind of the best example that I can actually think of right now. Good example: stick structures, teepee structures. In a way, yes, it may be evidence, but evidence of what? We speculate because of other stories that we've heard, that we speculate that Bigfoot or Sasquatch possibly build these structures. But it is a speculation because unless, we have some hard evidence that they do it, we can't really say they do. So that's kind of a good example of speculation. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree. I mean, the problem, Billy, is that it's speculation based on speculation. If you want to really get to the nitty gritty, the vocalizations that we hear that seem to be rather extraordinary and yet unidentifiable at the same time. We obviously, not a lot of people have actually seen these creatures making vocalizations. So, we've seen elephants at the zoo, trumpeting. We've seen tigers, on TV or at the zoo making growling noises. So we can match up the vocalization with the animal. Of course, there have been stories of people who say that, they saw the Bigfoot making a vocalization, and I know a couple of people personally who've had sightings where they've heard the vocalization and they've actually seen the creature making it. But for the most part, a lot of the howls out there, that could be speculation that Bigfoot is making these sounds. Now, if you've heard some of these sounds, they seem really compelling because, people who are experienced with animals in North America have not been able to identify that sound. So
right.
we're just speculating that, well, by process of elimination, what other animal has the volume to be able to make that sound, and of course it's a short list. So, that's kind of like with the stick structures, the wood knocks. We're speculating that these are things that Bigfoot does. And I said before, we don't really know. I mean, I don't know of any anecdotes personally where eyewitnesses reported watching creatures make stick structures or are making wood knocks. There might be some out there. I'm not aware of them.
Right.
But this is all things, and we've been on expeditions, Billy. You see it on TV where these are all things that researchers do in the course of their expedition to try to elicit some sort of response.
Right.
Like I said, they could be listening to these sounds and saying, who those people are nuts. We don't make
right. Right. What are they trying to do? Try and knock a tree over, or
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you how to knock a tree over. But now Flycatch mentioned that one of the latest trends is chest thumping. I have heard that, Flycatch, and I've also heard another one that's been talked about a lot, which is what they're calling cheek or tongue clicking or popping. That's been another one lately that's been spoke about also.
I've not heard that.
But yeah. Well, I've been hearing a lot of folks talking about it in Ohio, talking about like the where it sounds like a tongue pop or whatever. I don't know. Well, we got our first caller, so I guess we'll pull Mr. Henry May in here and see what he's got to say.
I know that Henry May is not a stranger to chest thumping. Hello, Henry.
Hey, guys.
Henry's chest thumping and raising his hand and stealing everybody's bid auction items.
Well, Billy, I actually witnessed Henry May making a stick structure out of some pretzels in the cafeteria. I don't know if you learned that from the Sasquatch or if he, somehow picked that up from somewhere else, but it was kind of interesting.
Well, anyway, this is a very interesting topic, and I do highly encourage people to share their evidence, but only thing is, if they're going to share it, they need to be prepared for at least constructive criticism, or they need to be prepared for perhaps some mockery and ridicule.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate too, Henry. There's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. I mean, we have to have constructive criticism. Sometimes it helps us find the problems we have and what we're calling evidence. But as you know, and a lot of us know, a lot of it gets taken way out of proportion to the limits of calling people names and well, we could go on and on, but I don't want to sit here and stress about it. But
right.
Well, let me share a little story with you guys. So, I was at a gathering out in Ohio, and someone came up to me and said, "Oh, I want you to take a look at these thermal images that I recorded of a family of Sasquatches." So I said, "Okay." So this individual is playing, this video, and the video is, it's a thermal imaging, so you can't really see any detail. You just see, the different, temperature colors, and it's clear in the video that these creatures are not bipedal. In fact, if you didn't know anything, about what you were looking at, and someone just showed you the video, you'd say, that's like a family of raccoons. I kid you not. It couldn't have been any clearer. Like it was a family of some sort of varmints. They could have been possums or raccoons, but they're clearly not bipedal. and they were the body mass was too small unless they were like a Hobbit Bigfoot running around. And so I said, you know what? My personal opinion is that this is not a thermal image of the family Bigfoot, but they look like some sort of, forest-dwelling varmints. I don't know if I used the word varmints. But this person became really defensive. And I said it really nice, because I don't want to. I know that when you think you have evidence, I know how, excited you are and how much you want to share it with people, and you want some, confirmation and validation that, wow, you really had. But, I had to be honest with them and said, I'm sorry, that's just my personal opinion. This person got really, really upset and angry. Said, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. So I said, okay, fine. That was just, but you asked me my personal opinion. And much like what Henry May is saying, that, if you're going to present your evidence, you have to be prepared that it's going to be scrutinized. And you can't be upset. You can't be defensive, because that's all evidence is scrutinized. Look at the Patterson-Gimlin film, which in my opinion is one of the best examples of video footage of the Sasquatch that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's look at how much that movie's been criticized, and it's it shows a clear picture, and yet to this day people are saying, oh, it was a hoax or whatever.
Right.
I'm I'm very skeptical, but the Patterson-Gimlin film is really what keeps me open-minded. And I look at that film and I say, gee, I don't. It hasn't been, despite a couple of people have made claims that it was a hoax. The footage itself has not been proven to have any flaws in it that would constitute, that would suggest that it was a hoax video.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just have people like say, oh, that was me in the suit or whatever, but the footage itself has stood up to all the scrutiny in the past 40 years or so that it's been out.
Almost 46 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Long time.
Yeah. But
so
you have to have a thick skin if you're going to present what you think is actual Sasquatch evidence, whether it's a footprint, whether it's a photograph, whether it's a video, whether it's a hair sample or fecal matter or whatever it is. You have to be able to say, well, this might be, but then again, this might not be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think, Henry, probably a lot of this is, folks that have been doing this for a while, how many footprint casts have we seen, and how many videos, and how many photos, and sometimes I think we feel like it's the same thing over and over and over, and we're going nowhere, and we're spinning our wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, I guess you could say we are. We're spinning our wheels, but the field of science, and we've heard this said many, many times before, and we're going to hear it said many, many times again. Science is not going to settle for anything less than a body.
Right.
And not the body of a Halloween costume with some pig guts in it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That's sort of the dark side of evidence, right? When people actively try to hoax, and that's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it wastes a lot of resources, and it's really reflects poorly on researchers, who take this seriously.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
That's like late last night, I was sitting here in my chair, and now the air conditioner I can't really hear very much of noises from outside. But if I have it turned off, which I did, I can hear stuff that comes from outside. And I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden I hear this strange howling noise. It's kind of almost a yelling / howling noise. Now, I didn't know what it was. I still don't know what it was. Could it have been a Sasquatch? I don't know. I do know we have coyotes around here. So it very possibly could have been a coyote, but it was pretty darn loud. It would have had to have been pretty close if it was a coyote.
Yeah. And if it was a coyote, it would have been pretty brave to come around your place, Henry, because...
Well, Abe came in and said it was just Henry with gas. Wow.
But Henry, you've been to a lot of conferences. I'm sure people ask you their opinion. I mean, the majority of what you see out there. I mean, can you share with us, like, have you actually seen anything that you think would pass scientific muster in terms of photographs? I mean, or I'm talking about evidence that people have actually acquired themselves, not like buying a cast at a conference or something like that, but vocalizations or photographs.
I've heard some interesting recordings of vocalizations that could have been of Sasquatch, but of course could have been of something else. People have asked me for their opinions, and I'll say basically my answer is always, well, it's possible, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. I've seen a lot of videos. I've seen a lot of photographs. But with the technology we have today, it's way too easy to fake a video. It's way too easy to fake a photo. It's way too easy it's way too easy to fake a lot of stuff, really.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, and you have to kind of be discerning. You should, and you don't need to be nasty to the people. You can just tell them, basically, well, I don't know, or you tell them, well, I don't see anything in there. Now, I'll give you an example. I took a photograph in southern Ohio back in 2008, which I thought was a Sasquatch, possibly, but I didn't know for sure. So what I did was I would ask around, I would ask different opinions and things like that. It appeared to be an entity in the photograph, but the more I think about it, the more I think that it could possibly be pixelation, or it could be some sort of it could be pareidolia. And I've shown it to several people. One person, Rob Gaudet, I put it on the Squatch Unlimited website. He took it down. He said, for anybody to suggest that there's a Bigfoot in this photograph is a little bit going a little bit too far. And I wasn't offended by that. I mean, I realized that it is a subjective photograph. So, could there be something in that photograph? I'm not really so sure anymore. And I took this photograph over 5 years ago. I'm not really 100% certain. So, but and that's the thing. You have to kind of you have to take things as you have to take things like that as not somebody not being nasty, but somebody having constructive criticism. And you can't be offended by what people say.
Right. Yeah, and it's and sometimes that's hard to do, especially when you think you have something good and you get your mind set on it. But that's, and you're right. We should want to share evidence with others. I mean, that's kind of what the social networking thing is about, is to share with each other. But just make sure the criticism is constructive. Is the most important thing. Now, Flycatch just mentioned to me that M.K. Davis said that Dyer's tent video was real, and then he backed down due to pressure from the Bigfoot community. Actually, that's the first time I've heard that. I didn't know that.
Because anybody who knows MK, and anybody who knows, especially in the last 5 years, some of the theories he's come out with, he hasn't really been too concerned about pressure from the Bigfoot community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you know,
but,
Billy, you run a group, Sasquatch Watch, and I know that it's part of the challenge of the group is that when you have members and they come across evidence, you know, sometimes they're really excited to sort of present it. And I don't know, do you want to share some insights you have,
well,
with dealing with that?
It's a struggle. It's a struggle because some of the evidence that gets presented and put forward as evidence a lot of times can just be evidence of the person who thinks there's evidence there. We have had some issues in the past where accusations were made that here's a video, I'm going to put it up on YouTube, and if you look real closely, you can see the two Bigfoot over there behind the tree. Well, here's my question: if you got I'm not saying anything. I don't expect anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do. But if you're taking a daylight video and you see what you think are two Bigfoot having some type of activities behind a tree in the daytime, I think I would try to make my way in that direction to see if that's really what I'm seeing. I mean, I don't think nobody's going to get mauled by some Bigfoot. And here's the sad part. The sad part is, and I'm not going to name names here or anything like that. My point on this is not to beat up on any one individual or anything. But when I said that to the person, the answer I got was, "Well, I didn't see it when I was filming it." Well, if you didn't see it when you were filming it, then why did you zoom into it? That was my question. If you didn't see it, why did you spend so much time focused on that area to the point of zooming into it? Obviously, you saw something and you thought something was there. So, that's probably one of the only huge issues we've dealt with within the group, and a lot of times that's from people first starting out. And they feel that everything they see and everything they hear and a stick snap in the woods, but keep in mind, we also are taught that on the television programs. So you can't completely blame them. They're watching TV. Oh, yeah, I heard it. But so you can't completely blame them, but if you're trying to say that you're trying to be scientific about it, then that's fine. But if not, and you just want to take pictures of shadows and stumps and things like that, and I even made a suggestion to this person: go back to the area, to the same area that you were at, and take a photo or a video of that same spot and see if it's still there and compare the two photos. So again, it was fell on deaf ears, but anyway, that's enough. I'll get off my soapbox.
I was just going to say, but I think peer review is something that's extremely important on any bit of evidence. And sometimes that can be a bit of a lost art in this in this community. A lot of people aren't willing to sit down, and a lot of people feel it's easier to criticize than it is to actually do a stringent peer review. And I think some of the best people to have peer review with would be like Jeff Meldrum or Esteban Sarmiento or John Bindernagel. I think those would be some for any kind of review or any kind of evidence you may have. Dr. Brian Sykes would also be another good example. He's part of the Oxford and Lausanne Collateral Hominid Project, which that paper, from what I understand, is going to be presented by the end of the year.
Oh, cool.
So
look forward to that.
Yeah. But as far as I think there should be a good bit of peer review, and there should be criticism, but there shouldn't be nasty personal insults flying and things like that.
Right. Yeah, I agree, Henry. Actually, I saw somebody with their hand up on one of the phone calls, and then the phone call disappeared. So I don't know if they got cold feet or if they got disconnected. But just so anyone knows, anyone that's holding on the line, if you're just listening to the show, you don't have to do anything. But if you actually called in and you want to, give us a comment or ask a question, make sure you press the 1 key so that I know that you want to come on the air. Just letting you all know that. And there they are. They're pushing their thing. So hold on just a second. Caller from the 207 area code, you're on the air.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, my name is Bill Brock, and I got my buddy right here, Carl Lancelot. Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
We just thought we'd call in. We saw your show was on, and figured we'd give you guys a call and see how you're doing and see what kind of research you're doing out there.
We're doing just about a little bit of everything.
Have you found anything good lately?
Nothing lately. Virginia has been really slow so far this year. The last thing that came in the state of Virginia on my end was back in March. And that was a series of large footprints that were found in a cornfield. Other than that, we really have not had anything coming into the hotline or to the sighting report database.
Wow. Carl Lancelot and I, we went up to Jackman, Maine over the last couple of days, and we actually basically heard some whoops. We found a nice series of prints. And also got quite a few sightings relayed to us through Master Maiden Guide Bill. And Master Maiden Guide Bill is another guy on our team. And, everything's going really good here. We're getting a lot of action, getting a lot of good stuff going on, man.
Very cool. Now, is there any place on the Internet or anywhere that y'all share that stuff where people can see it?
Oh, absolutely. Go to Team Big. Look it up right there on Facebook, Team Big International.
Oh, very good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the Bigfoot International group on Facebook.
Okay, yeah, I've seen you guys. I've seen you. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, y'all, people check that out on Facebook, Team Big. I'm sure you put it into search, it'll come right up. Check out what they're finding.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that anything in particular interesting about your current research project that you can just sort of share with us without giving away too much?
Oh, yeah, man. I'll tell anybody anything they want to hear. Like, absolutely. I don't hide the thing. I'm not like a lot of those guys where they'll, kind of keep their information secret. Carl and I, if we find something, we'll put it out there because that's what this research is all about, trying to share information and find out exactly what's the end of that tunnel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been doing a lot of really cool stuff. We've been steadily using, at least this is what I personally do, I use a lot of Bigfoot calls from Wayne, from Dallas and Wayne. Wayne has got one of the best darn Bigfoot calls I ever heard in my life. And so I use that out there in the woods, and I get a lot of response from it, Last night we didn't get a lot of response from our calls. We did hear, like I said, a couple whoops that were really close to us. I heard a bunch of whistling and whatnot. And I usually can get that by using predator calls. And then also looking at feeding times. Whenever you go hunting or fishing, you look at the map or whatever. I think Bigfoot is kind of the same way. Look at feeding times for your local deer population and go out and look for Bigfoot during those times. I've been fortunate enough in my life to be able to go out and go Bigfooting with some of the best Bigfoot names out there. And Stacy Brown is one of them. And Stacy, he really relies heavily on that. He really, pays attention to the stars and whatnot, and makes sure he's out there, man, during those special feeding times, and it seems to work for us.
Very good, very good.
That's awesome. Well,
thanks.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question while you're on your phone, and this kind of ties into what we're talking about. You probably during the course of your research, you've acquired some vocalizations, I imagine, maybe some video photographic evidence. You have no problem sharing that. And can I ask you what your personal philosophy is? Why you put that out there? Are you looking for peer review? Are you looking for some sort of feedback, or are you just kind of putting it out there to say, look, this is what we found, take it or leave it?
I can't talk for Carl, but for my personal feelings on this, I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy going out and looking for Bigfoot and recording what's going on. I like keeping that database of information that I found, and it's fun to share it. It's a hobby, like you go to a swap meet and you meet a bunch of guys and they got cool parts, you swap parts, and you go home with a big smile on your face. Well, that's to me the way Bigfooting should be, share the experience, try to get as many people out in the woods to enjoy the woods as you can, and share what you find. I mean, realistically, man, this is Bigfooting, this should be fun. We shouldn't have people whining and crying about DNA. Who cares about that? We need to go to the woods and go find Sasquatch. I ain't got time to look at some DNA paper. I want to find Sasquatch. I want to put that thing in a box. So, personally, I don't care about all that drama. I want to go to the woods, and I want to document it. I want to have fun with it. I enjoy making videos. It's a good pastime, keeps me out of the bars, and I just like it, and I like to share it. And what do you feel about that?
For me personally, it's what is there to hide? If you go up, if you're going to go up in the woods, I can understand keeping it a secret about when you're going to go and exactly where you're going to go, so you can avoid people hoaxing you and whatnot. But if you find something, why should you withhold that, or why hide that from other people, unless you're either one, you're trying to make a bunch of money off of it somehow, or two, you're just, I don't know. I don't understand why you would want to hide a bunch of evidence. So if we find anything and we find what we think are tracks or prints or hair, or if we get recording of some audio or whatever, as soon as we can get back to computers, we want to share that and see what people think and get the feedback or whatever, and just share it with people. We're not trying to, be trophy hunters and get rich off of going up and
playing in the woods.
Camping and playing in the woods, but there's a bunch of research involved too. But if you're not having fun, then what's the point,
Right. Now I got a question for you guys. How much you put up your evidence and stuff like that? Do you get a lot of negative comments from people, and when you do, how do you handle it?
I'll go ahead. This is Bill Brock. I'll go ahead and answer that first. I personally never really had too many haters on what I'm doing, because I don't mess around. I don't put stuff out there that I don't believe in, and I don't do anything that would cause any haters to give me a hard time. I go and I interview the people usually that have had the sightings, and then after that I'll research the sighting area and present my evidence, and there's no way you can hate on me for that. I'm just giving you the facts, and no, I personally haven't had too many. I think that sadly enough, I think Carl's probably had to face that more than I have. But
right.
Carl, I don't know if your listeners know who Carl is, but he was one of the few people that were able to go up what's called the Sierra Kill Site. He was actually at one of those events there. So he saw something up there, and through that, he can kind of explain the story from.
Yeah. Well, basically, I came back from that trip 100% convinced that these things were real and that all this was going on, But the important thing is that as time went on, everybody wanted to keep it a secret. Nobody wanted me to upload any of my footage. They didn't want me to share any pictures. They didn't want me to even talk about it. the other people that were involved. And finally, over time, I just, I didn't see the point in that anymore, so I went ahead and uploaded all my footage and everything. And what happened was a lot of people that I really trust and a lot of credible people gave me really good answers for what happened up there, and they looked at the tracks and the trackway, and a lot of them were like, no, that I've got a lot of experience. That looks like a bear print. And at the time, my inexperience, I was like, wow, that looks like Sasquatch. That's totally Sasquatch, So for me, like, I've learned the lesson the hard way that if I come across something, I'm not going to come out and say, this is Bigfoot, but it is important to get home and share it with people and say, this is what I found, and let people decide for themselves what they think of it. Anytime you find somebody saying, there's Sasquatch right there in my video or in my picture, and they're trying to tell you and convince you that it is, well, unless it's plain as day and it's like standing 10 feet from the camera and it's in high definition, then nobody's going to be convinced. You can't shove it down people's throats. Just show them what you find or let them listen to the audio and let people decide for themselves. But I think it's a matter of putting it out there and letting people decide.
Right. Very good.
Well,
Very good.
I think one of the traits that you two exhibit that I think make what you do and the way you do it so successful is that first of all you're willing to hear feedback on your evidence, and I think that also you're very discerning with your evidence, and like you said, you probably learned that the hard way. But I can tell you that a lot of people, and the number one reason people don't share their evidence, and it's usually, when I say evidence, it's usually mostly like anecdotal. There used to be this little diner I used to go to out in Ohio, and the diner was located just on the outskirts of Salt Fork State Park, which historically it had a lot of sighting reports. And I loved going to that diner because that was where all the locals went. And because I went there and because I would go there year after year, I got to know, the wait staff. And the great thing about going to that diner was that you could talk to the locals, and they would tell you. They would tell you stories, and they'd always, they always like had this distrustful look. But, once they felt like they could trust you, they would tell you this, like the sighting report. Like, like this one story of this guy who, it was actually his wife who told the story, and she was a waitress at this diner, and she said that, he had this sighting while he was in a tree stand, and after he had the sighting, he never went back in the woods. He never went hunting again. He was a bow hunter. But the reason why people don't come forward with these stories is because they're fearful of ridicule. And so, it sounds like you guys are pretty, you made up your mind that, look, people, this is what it is, and this is what we think it is, and you're not afraid of, like, ridicule or criticism.
Well, part of that hesitation I think that people probably have, and I can't speak for others, but for me, part of the reason that there's that hesitation to tell people, I think, is because it's so confusing and none of it's 100%. So you can't really, it's difficult to come out and say exactly what you saw or what you heard or I found a Bigfoot track, because when you actually come across that stuff and you start casting them and pulling the prints up and you're trying to wrap your head around it, it can be kind of mind-boggling, and you're not even sure what you found. You're not even sure exactly 100% what you heard or what you saw, and it can be even within your own mind, it can be confusing as to what exactly just happened. And so I think, a lot of people are just not confident to come flat out and stand behind what they say. And if they do, they're afraid of that doubt that they have or the fear that they might change their mind or someone with more experience might explain it to them or show them how they were wrong. And they're afraid to change that. So it's hard to come out and say, yeah, this is a Bigfoot track, and then professionals look at it and say, no, this is definitely a black bear. And you're like, oh, okay. They don't want to do that. You don't want to put yourself out there just to get proven wrong. Sure. And a lot of times people just are not sure what happened or what they saw or what they bumped into or what they heard. They're not even sure themselves. So how could they come out and flat out say, this is what I saw a Bigfoot or I heard a Bigfoot? A lot of them just are not sure themselves.
Right.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to jump off here, but thanks for taking my call, Billy and Bruce, and great show, great topic tonight.
All right,
thanks, Henry. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, later, guys.
All right, so I think we're going to roll out too, man. This is Bill Brock, the Rogue Bigfooter, and what's your name?
Carl Olinsalot from Team Big.
We're out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in, guys.
Yep, thanks. Cool. We have got some participation. Yeah, and just to remind everyone, if you are listening in and you were trying to actually get on the show, all you have to do is hit the one, dial the one button on your phone, and it'll put a little flag up to tell me that you want to make a comment or ask a question. And the phone number for those who may not be on the internet and just listening to the show, the phone number tonight is 347-237-5070. Again, it's 347-237-5070. All righty, Bruce. That was great. Had some people call in and share a little bit of stories and things that they're doing. So it sounds like them two guys, they're not worried about what other people think. They just go out, do their thing, have a good time. I mean, how many times have we said that? We just want to have a good time and make friends, and just enjoy each other, enjoy having fun out there in the woods.
I totally agree, Billy. We say this all the time, is that part of what makes this fun is that the people you go out with, they make it fun, the camaraderie, the friendships, that grow out of it. And sure, we're all trying to, to gather evidence, but it certainly makes the experience a whole lot more fun and enjoyable when you can do it with, with good folks.
Right.
And those two sound like they know what they're doing, and it sounds like they're doing it for the right reasons.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And so I guess the question is, guys, you've heard two guys come on here, actually three guys, Henry May and Bill, and I think the other guy's name was Carl. Sounds to me like, from the synopsis here, it sounds like they're saying, we should share what we got, share the evidence, don't worry about what people think, take the criticism, but, it's going to be, some of your criticism, you just have to realize some of it will be negative.
Right.
That's just the nature of the beast, I guess.
Well, Billy, it's unfortunate, and it probably is just human nature, but no matter what you do, I think you have to be prepared for for criticism, for feedback that is not wholly constructive, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I do know what you mean. I tell you what, we've really spent a lot of time talking about this. We've got like 7 minutes left of the show.
Wow, time flies.
I do want to mention to everyone, I kind of put a feeler out there, but just want to mention it while we're live on the show tonight. Creature Weekend, May 2014. All I'm going to say is, folks, be prepared. There is going to be a great event lined up that you're not going to want to miss it. I'm not going to throw any hints. All I'm going to say is you will want to attend. And sorry that that's a teaser, but that's all I can say right now about it.
Yeah, and Billy, I didn't think you were going to talk about it until next month.
I didn't tell him what it was.
All right. I thought we agreed we were going to hold off on that announcement.
What did I announce? I just told them it was going to be a great event that they don't want to miss.
And that it will be.
That's all they got to know for right now. I will say, the only other thing I'll say about it is I am not aware of it ever being done anywhere else. So that's all I'm going to say. So you'll just have to work up your anticipation for that.
Yeah, it'll. I think part part of what we like to do is we like to be innovative. And I think if you look at the past couple of years, you've seen a lot of firsts. So we can expect more of that, more of that pattern in the future. So
right.
I think it's definitely going to be a great event, and we're all pretty excited actually. And it's it's a long ways away, but I think it'll be here before you know it.
Yep, it will be. It will be. But by the way, who's running the event this year? Is it Seinfeld or?
Yeah, it's some guy at Vandelay. I don't know what his.
Oh, Vandelay. Okay. I didn't know who was running it. So.
Yeah, some Seinfeld thing.
Okay. Yeah, I guess whoever does that, they can't come up with anything creative. They got to use a Seinfeld show to get names off of, But
oh, too funny. I know. So Billy, in all the years that you've been doing this, what do you think is what is like the best evidence that you think has ever come out of the field to prove or at least suggest that there is such a real animal as Bigfoot? Is there anything that stands out in your mind?
Not really, Bruce, because the way I look at it is I try to I don't think any single piece of evidence is what convinces me. I've always said that it's a collection. It's a collection of evidence. We've got the PG film. We've got footprints from all over the world, cast with dermal ridges, with eyewitnesses, thousands of eyewitnesses around the world. History books that, from way back, when the settlers first landed in this continent, talking about hairy giants. The pottery and things over on the West Coast that the Native Americans put these strange figures on that look like apes. I think it's a combination of everything that really, sometimes when you have like an overflow of evidence, it kind of what drives me as far as thinking this is, this thing exists.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right about that. I think there's a legacy, if I may say that, of you can call it evidence, even though most of it's fairly inconclusive, about this creature, and it goes way back, even before the Europeans settled this country.
Right.
And you have to take that into account.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. Very true. Well, let me ask you something, Bruce. We already know what we're doing for our show next week. So my question to you is do you want to give everybody a hint of what we're doing next week, or do you want them to wait until the weekend?
Well, Billy, you know me. I think surprises are the spice of life.
Well, I don't know. It would depend on what the surprise is. Probably like a gift wrapped prime rib would probably be a really good surprise for you.
Well, if you want to give them a hint, I'm okay with it. Now that you spilled the beans about the Creature Weekend next year.
Well, you're the one that set it up, so I'll let you. You know more about this person than I do, so.
Well, as of right now, we're not 100% sure that the guest will be able to make it. So I'd rather not say right now. If I was 100% sure, I would have no problem.
Okay.
Announcing the guest. But
all right.
They're on vacation, and unfortunately, access to their email is limited, from what I'm told. So I have to wait till they return from their vacation.
Okay.
And then I can get a confirmation on that.
Okay. Well, it'll be a good guest, nevertheless.
Oh,
so,
yeah. It'll be a lot of fun.
So everyone be ready. We will announce it on the Facebook page, on the Sasquatch Watch Radio Facebook page. If anyone has not liked the page yet, go ahead and like it. That way you get updates about what's coming up on the Tuesday show. We post it on the weekends. I have started to limit our advertising because it was literally taking me 2 to 3 hours on a weekend to advertise on all the group pages, and it was a little bit too much. I do like to have a little bit of personal time, so so what we started doing now is only advertising on the Sasquatch Watch Radio Facebook page. If you go there, you can put it in the search bar, click the like button. That way you'll get the updates. You can also come to the Sasquatch Watch, which is our public page. You can also join there if you want. We make announcements there as well. So anyway, I think we're about out of time tonight. Bruce, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think this was a good topic, and it was, depending on who you talk to, Billy, people still have different opinions on whether they think they should share or not share, and these same people that I do, we both know people who are free and open with information, just like the folks from Maine, and they really believe that we can only get to the bottom of this if we collaborate and share information. But then you have other people who are not so willing to share, their whatever evidence they've collected for fear of criticism, or they're just, in some rare cases, I personally think that they kind of are looking at the glory side of it, which is probably not the right reason to pursue this, but it is what it is. So I'm glad that those folks in Maine called in. It's good to know that there are good folks out there who are still fighting the good fight and doing it for the right reasons. Right.
So, folks, basically what we're saying is we certainly don't discourage anyone from sharing information. We just want to give you caution to be prepared for the criticism, whether it be constructive or negative. You're going to get it in one form or the other. But just like the folks, the guys there from Maine said, they're doing it because they enjoy it. And if you do it for that reason and you're doing it to have fun and it's a nice, an enjoyable hobby, then therefore share it. So I think that's the conclusion to that
short
topic.
Of it, Billy.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. I want to thank you for being on tonight, Bruce. And thanks for everyone for calling in. Thank you, Carl, Bill, Henry, for calling in. We appreciate your comments. And until next Tuesday night at 9 p.m., we hope all of you have a great week and a great weekend.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Remember to join us again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate every one of our listeners. Thank you so much for being here.